Cloaked in shadows, I prey on the forces of evil, determined to strike terror throughout the underworld, an urban boogeyman often discussed, but rarely seen, glimpsed fleetingly in shadow, possessed of seemingly inhuman powers. I have become, through imaginations and nightmares, a creature to be avoided, more vivid rumor than reality. The aura of fear that I project is my most potent weapon. It triggers panic, giving me the advantage in my attack. Even those who fixate on challenging the Batman recoil in horror when I finally confront them. Each night in silence, I move through the city, seeing what others try to hide. The bribes casually taken, the heinous acts committed in darkness. But crime also flourishes in the luster of wealth and civility, where I wear a different disguise, one in which the city's fortunate welcome me as one of their own. The well-heeled denizens of this realm are often just as cutthroat as their counterparts in the street. As Bruce Wayne, I weave through the crowd, giving a smile here, a handshake there. Every move executed with the same precision Batman would use to disarm a thug in an alley. This is the world into which I was born. Over the years, I have shut out any distractions it may offer, using it purely as a source of information, an arena that will help me win battles elsewhere. I drift through the day, letting trivial concerns occupy my mind. This morning there's an investment opportunity. Upscale housing and retail venues built on the side of the formerly thriving Bayside industrial area. I know the neighborhood. I'm usually down there once a week, running out the gangs and drug dealers. I just smile and shrug. The development's mastermind is Randall Winters, a man my age from a similar background. Randall is quick to encourage my participation in his project. We are, in his words, kindred souls, after the same things out of life. In him, I see a reflection of the man I might have been, and I'm not sure I like it. That night, I patrol the Bayside area. Despite the constant threat of crime, good people still live here. Gunshots, then an alarm. Weapon in hand, a man flees from a market. Robbery, possible murder. I maneuver him into the alley. He wastes bullets on my shadows, down in seconds, sobbing in fear, no longer a threat. The shots told me what to expect. I'm not surprised when I see the bodies. Then I see something else. Something unexpected, but familiar. The boy's name is Marcus. The only family he has is awaiting the coroner's van. I see him later, sitting alone, lost in the confusion of a busy night at the station. The grief, rage, and fear. The first night is always the worst. The tragedy that defined my life has so easily been inflicted on another. Whether the scars are physical or mental, crime wounds everyone it touches. It brings injury and death, poisons the mind and soul, and in the end, leaves only despair. Crime wastes no time extending its reach. Bayside was once a thriving part of the city. Families were safe here, encouraged by the prospect of good jobs and a bright future, but were eventually driven away by those who saw crime as a viable career option. By morning, a gang is already tagging the murdered couple's store. I watch the punks claim the area for their own. The woman behind the counter is a hardened criminal. I've handed her over to the police several times before. I'll probably do it again. Like many, she returns from confinement determined to maintain a quiet, low-profile existence. She tries very hard to fit in, working a simple job, forcing away any thoughts of her criminal past. The crushing drudgery of her self-inflicted routine will soon send her back into past habits and the influence of old friends. There is a sad predictability to this woman's situation, a frailty that I feel as her delicate hand brushes against mine. A local gang hitting an electronics store, adult leader, 3 teen grunts, little one on lookout. Like most lookouts, He's watchful for any movements on the street and rarely looks up. I dart quickly across the smoke, subduing the gang members before they pull their weapons. By the time the air clears, only the lookout is left. I advance, and he shrinks back, scared out of his mind. Exactly the response I wanted. Though now I see this boy is no stranger to fear. For the second time this week, Marcus stares up at me, terrified and in pain. When he runs, I don't make a move to stop him. In my darkest moments, I'm taunted by the suspicion that my parents' murder was the best thing that ever happened to me. Cynically, I tell myself that it has given my life a destiny and the means to fulfill it. I try to imagine what my life would have been like as a poor child on the street, my family gone, no one to look after me. Stripped of those resources, would I still have tried to fight crime however I could? Or would I have turned my anger back on society as so many others have done? All too soon sunlight stabs through my eyelids. When I did doze off, I kept seeing the boy in my dreams, staring at me as if I were the embodiment of his every misery. And not without reason. Recently, Batman has been looming over him like an evil shadow, close by at every moment of loss and fear. I'm more concerned with criminals than victims. Maybe it's time I started effecting changes without the mask. I meet with Randall Winters to hear more about his redevelopment plan. I tell him I'm interested, especially if it means improving the neighborhood for the people still living there. Randall explains that all the smart people in the community took his money and left, leaving the ones who couldn't or wouldn't move targets for gangs and drug leaders, saying cleaning up that mess is what the police and Batman are for. Randall grins and makes light of it. If it's security in the area that worries me, he knows a few moonlighting cops who will run the undesirables off for $1 or $2. Winter's callous attitude goads me onward. If he wants to lay the responsibility for cleaning up Bayside on Batman's shoulder, then far be it from me to disappoint him. Before long, I have every detail of the neighborhood mapped and memorized. Every rooftop, alleyway, and side street. I'm still lacking several pieces of vital information. Rundowns of illicit activity in Bayside, and names of the players calling the shots. I know where to get what I need. To jaded thrill-seekers, an aura of dangerous glamour still surrounds the owner of this club. I'm not so easily dazzled. If this man doesn't have his hand in every dirty game in town, he knows who does. I tell my old associate I want information on Bayside. He protests, threatening to have me prosecuted for harassment if I don't get out. I appeal to him on a level he understands, warning him that if I disappear, so does his liquor license. I get the names and addresses I want, but the man says I'm wasting my time. There's nothing in Bayside worth saving. Bayside is a lost cause. Which is exactly why I've targeted the area. Night after night I'm there, waging my fight against crime in whatever form it takes. I strike quickly and vanish, a vengeful extension of the darkness. My unspoken message swiftly spreads through the streets. Someone's watching, and he's angry. That anger grows the night I trail some kid to a shuttered paper factory. Once it employed 1,000 people and was the economic linchpin of the neighborhood. Now, the factory is a grotesque parody of its former self. Still thriving, still a vital force in the local economy, but as a drug lab. The local gangs have put the neighborhood back to work, and why wouldn't kids flock here? In this part of town, it's the only promise of money and protection. But it's all an illusion. There is no safety here. Least of all from me. I use the powder for camouflage, connecting with the attacker when I hear them come close. Over the cries of the fleeing kids, I hear one of them fumbling a heavy object from a drawer. Then a click as small fingers clumsily pull back a gun hammer. I know who's standing there before I turn around. Marcus's voice shakes as he orders me away. If I go, it will only prove to him the power of the gun. Marcus, this isn't you. It doesn't have to be. I saw what happened to your parents. A man with a gun, once took away people I loved. I never stopped missing them. Never forgot how painful it was to be alone. You can't bring your parents back, but you can break the cycle of violence that took them. Don't become what killed our families. As street crime diminishes in Bayside, I change my battle tactics. I instruct my company to buy the old factory and return it to full production. The profits and money will be marginal, and human spirit, incalculable. It is not the moments of tragedy that define our lives so much as the choices we make to deal with them. Marcus chose to walk away from the gun and a life of crime. The life that awaits him will sometimes be hard and sad, but he has proven himself strong enough to face it. In time, this neighborhood will flourish again. More opportunities will come here, providing hope for the people who have stuck it out for so long. I can't imagine that would sit well with my good friend Randall Winters. Now that I'm bringing industry back to Bayside, the future of his upscale residential development is not quite so bright. Once more, Winters emphasizes that his wealthy clientele will pay top dollar for the new homes he will build. I tell him I prefer to invest in the people already living there. Randall calls me naive for caring about people I don't even know. I admit that may be. But it's my money, and my call. I tell Randall I don't want to take up any more of his time, in light of more pressing concerns. It seems the police have just arrived with questions about cops taking kickbacks from private industry. I excuse myself, wishing Randall good luck with his future endeavors. I know I am fighting a war I can never completely win, but there are small victories that encourage me to keep trying. If I can win back one child, if it starts with one person, and then a neighborhood, then perhaps redemption can spread through an entire city, and finally, back to me. I helped Marcus deal with his pain. It will take him some time, but I know it will eventually leave him. Maybe someday I'll feel I can leave mine behind as well. But for now, I am the Batman, a grim soul fighting a relentless war on crime.